So here we go. Module number 9, trading psychology. I think I say it right at the end, but someone told me many years ago, trading 80% psychology, 20% about the numbers and the skill set. I'd say more 50-50, but I think you get the message at trading psychology and human psychology, one of the most important things when trading. Now, there's a lot of stuff there to get into your mind and second guess yourself because the markets are so uncertain and no one can really say if something is a buy or a sell. You can do your best work, your good research, good analysis, execute well and still lose, right? That's the game. But with a structured process and a little help from myself and the team at Teach the World to Trade, you'll be much better set to have that profitable, sustainable, disciplined approach to the markets. Okay? So enjoy this video and see you on the other side. Module number 9, trading psychology. It's a big one when we delve into our inner selves and our minds and how we conduct ourselves in the trading world. Mental athlete approach. See, I've written down there. This is something I've cultivated over many years of my own trading and coaching for my own personal practice. It'll come up later on. It's all about mastering yourself before the market and getting yourself in that best possible psychological state. And physically, mentally, it's all connected as one so you can achieve everything you want to achieve in the markets. Why psychology matters so much. As professionals, we've got to understand that, markets are uncertain. This creates, a lot of uncertainty, creates a lot of fear and issues itself. And you having to every day deal with that, you don't know what's going to happen, is a huge psychological battle, really. Losses are inevitable. No one likes losing money. It's, it's the big downside of trading as a career, that you will take on losses, but they're inevitable. There is no one out there as a trader, investor, fund manager that's involved in the markets that hasn't taken losers. Outcomes are variable. You can have best laid plans not come off, have to adjust them midway because markets changed. You've got to accept this, that while you do have your plan and your process, that you can't control the markets. You can only control everything else running up to you, putting that trade on. And while you're managing that trade, the rest is the markets. And emotions are natural. There's something I read many years ago in my early career as a trader, that successful traders had the same mental makeup and profile as serial killers. I found it quite amusing, but the science behind that is that you have that kind of flat line of emotions where you can adjust yourself to, not be too excited, not be too fearful, just to be present and go through, no matter the amount of stress coming at you, the emotions that you need to go through and carry on. Another fun fact that my sister-in-law brought up was that she sees me drinking black coffee, and she said all of America's biggest serial killers drink black coffee as well. So I'm actually a nice guy, I promise. I know we've got a lot of serial killer analogies, and we're talking about psychology, but I think it's all about just trying to remove those outside emotions and being present. And I'm sure there's nicer people than just serial killers and psychos that have that. A lot of nice traders out there, hopefully. There's the two core forces. There's fear, the absolute fear of loss, and also the fear of missing out. These are two big fears, if we look at it from a bird's eye lens. And then greed, fear and greed, two huge forces in trading. greed after a winning trade. You just want more. And then that overconfidence seeps in after success, all of which affect your psychology and then put you in those different states when you just need to be level pegging. You need to be balanced. You need to have the same almost boring approach to trading, which probably isn't rock and roll. I know I've talked about serial killers before, and now I'm telling you, you've got to be very plain and boring and one-dimensional when you're running through your process. But you've got to tame those emotions and that psychology. Some emotional triggers in the process. I mean, identifying trades, again, you've got that fear of missing out, the initial fear if you've done the research isn't good enough, and you have that psychology of, what am I missing? I'm not good enough. Someone's better than me that knows what they're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. All these sorts of things in identifying that trigger you and stop you there and don't even get to the execute phase. Before you get to the execution phase, am I getting in the right place? Am I too early? Am I too late? How much size should I do? When you're managing, is my trade still valid? Is it not still valid? Has something happened in the market that I don't know about? Tons of stuff. And then evaluation, when it all comes out on the paper, when you have to pour out your emotions and accept your emotions and understand what you've been going through when you're evaluating. That's just a handful of emotional triggers just in the process itself. That I brought up in 60 seconds, but there are plenty more. And these are the things, and this is why the process is built for this, because you hit that evaluation phase and you go through them and you understand them. Okay, that's what's important. That's why this part of the process is so important, that evaluation phase. So the professional mindset, we have this mental state even before you enter. You've got to make sure, you've got to ask yourself, are you calm? Are you in the right headspace? Are you being reactive? Are you trying to chase something because, your emotions are like, or, the fear of missing out is kicking in, or I've got to trade, or, I've got to do something. Or you're trying to prove something, you want to be a big shot, or you've got these high hopes of what you want to achieve as a trader, and then you're chasing these things. A lot of them are kind of P&L or intrinsic kind of things pushing you on that sort of side that affect your mindset, and you've got to kind of pull them back. It's very common in retail traders. Very often you'd be seeing these flash people with flash Instagram accounts going, be a millionaire, trade in life, etc., etc. And then you're like instantly trying to get from zero to Lamborghini. And this amateur mindset really just puts you on a road to lose money. And that's kind of where I am trying to increase financial literacy for that sustainable, disciplined approach and the relationships with markets. You don't have to prove anything to anyone at the end of the day, only yourself. And then, are you trading out of boredom? Again, very common one. You've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Are you just trading because you haven't done anything and you're just forcing trades? Good analogy here is the goalkeeper analogy. Statistically, if a goalkeeper stands still and stays in the middle, he'll save more penalties when a penalty is taken. But if they stand there and the ball goes either side of them, and it looks like they haven't done anything, even though statistically they've got more chance of saving if they stay there. They have to show that they're doing something, right? And it's kind of sometimes gets like that in trading, especially professionally. You're like, well, I'm here to make money and put some trades on. If I'm not doing anything, I've got no chance of doing that. Whereas it's like, well, you're actually waiting for the right setups and the right, you're running your process professionally. So sometimes sitting on your hands is the best trade. And then you've got the psychology responses to your results, your wins and your losses, overconfidence coming in again. You see it a lot. I suffer that from myself, even though I'm mindful of it. You can't help, because when you are, succeeding, making good trades on a good winning run, you want to push yourself out your comfort zone. You want to increase your size. You maybe want to do more trades. So it just naturally seeps in, and it's a very hard one to temper, because you've got to have that motivation and that push to succeed as a trader. But it's this is why I have a coach, and this is why I coach others. for this sort of thing, because you do need someone helping you out and guiding you through these sorts of things. And then again, the hesitation after losses, getting back on the horse. I remember one of my junior traders very infamously, I suppose, in the office, he wrote, he had a losing streak, and then I think I sort of saw that he'd written down on his notepad in his, it kind of was like his golden rule book almost, and it said no spins, no loss, and spins is like trades. It says no spins, no loss. So his answer to stopping his losing streak and was not trading at all. And I know you talk about sitting on your hands, but there's a difference between sitting on your hands but looking to activate a process and then actively saying to yourself, I'm not going to do anything. Again, this balance that needs coaching. Revenge trading, fear of missing out because you didn't put a trade on and you're chasing that trade. It happens a lot. So, you're like, I should have done that trade, and then you didn't do it, and then you're chasing another trade and you're putting on too fast. That happens a great deal. And, feeling hard done by that you didn't get filled on a trade, for example, and that trade came in, stuff like that. It sounds crazy when you write it down, revenge trading. Why would you do that? But it happens a great deal. You're taking a loss, you're trying to make that loss up, and you're pushing trades that perhaps you shouldn't do. Often see that also. The ego truly is the enemy. Looking inside at oneself, you've got to find that balance and do self-talk, essentially write things down and keep abreast of your personality and trying to find that level-headedness that you need to approach the markets every day with discipline. So I've grouped some performance capacities that you've got to keep an eye on psychologically. You've got your mental capacity. There's weeks and months of learning that you've got to keep on top of. Hours of analysis. There's a lot of screen exposure. All of this is affecting your psychology. Opportunity cost of what you could be doing if you weren't doing this. And then that displacement of priorities. If you're, I'm not going to do X because I'm going to research the markets and, perfect a trading skill. It's that cost benefit really of trading and learning a new skill. Then there's your emotional capacity. You've got to name and tame those emotions. I've mentioned that before. Very important. Still something I use myself in and outside of work. Controlling those reactions. I've had a lot of desk bangers over the years. Slamming the desk if something, a trade goes wrong or a miss, or they miss a trade. It's kind of, those are the ones I'd have to coach and have a word with and kind of almost talk off the ledge and say, listen, you've got to be level-headed, get balanced again, name and tame it, do some breathing exercises, get back on track. Avoiding impulse is a big one emotionally. Certainly, sometimes if you're tired and you're not 100% and you feel that you see an opportunity and you miss it, and then you're kind of jumping in and out of markets without doing your full process. I mean, this happens a lot. Accepting that uncertainty. It's okay. The markets are uncertain, and you can't be right 100% of the time. But emotionally, that's hard to take. As humans, we like that stability at the end of the day. And then you've got your physical performance. This is where it's at the end, I know because I've written it, but this is the mental athlete side of things. And this is a cornerstone of a lot of my coaching for the past few years, where I've developed this mental athlete approach to trading. Sleep is a cornerstone. Then you've got your nutrition, your energy management. You've got your screen discipline, taking regular breaks. And there's a full mental athlete approach to trading that I do, which I will record some stuff for YouTube after this course is up and running, which is close to finishing now. We're on module number 9. Patience and discipline. These are the crux, the true values of successful traders. and the real foundations of success: patience and discipline. These two virtues, without a doubt, you can most mistakes and successes you can peg back to these two values: patience and discipline. If it wasn't really nerdy, I'd probably get them tattooed somewhere on my body, just to remind me every day that that's what I need to do. Temperance and discipline, two very, very important things. And like I said, on your journey, ingrain these two words into your brain and think, well, what am I doing today in terms of the markets? Am I employing my patience and my discipline with what I'm doing? At the end of the day, once you've got that great understanding of the markets and trading, patience and discipline will help guide you the rest of the way. Key takeaway, module number 9, trading psychology. There's a lot to put you off when it comes to trading psychology. I mean, someone said to me once, it's 80% psychology, trading success, 80% psychology, 20% the numbers and your process, right? I'd say it's more 50-50, I think, personally. But maybe that's because I've got a handle on my psychology. But this motivated me at the very start of my journey when, you're at the start. I had someone telling me in the office, he's a very famous guy for me. He used to say to me every day, this game's over. What are you going to do when trading doesn't work out for you? It was over 20 years ago. And so not only I had the challenge of learning the markets, I had someone gaslighting me. Gaslighting wasn't even invented yet. He was gaslighting me, telling me I didn't have a chance. He was a very successful trader. And I always said to myself, look, someone not as smart as me, but more disciplined is making more money than me. And I'll say the same to you. Okay, so it just comes back to that discipline. And that's all it is: patience and discipline, and understanding your craft and learning the skill, and then being consistent. Okay, so I know you're at the start of your journey watching this, but trust me, there is someone not as smart, but more disciplined, making more money than you. So there we go. Module number 9, done and dusted. Trading psychology. Big deal. And a constant in my trading career and everyone's trading career, really, because you have to do that self-evaluation. You've got to check yourself before you wreck yourself regularly. Even when you've got a string of wins under your belt, you got to make sure you're not too overconfident, and a string of losses, you got to make sure you've got to bounce back and do it the right way and try and get level-headed as much as possible and have that kind of balanced approach, that kind of straight down the line. This is me as a trader, and sort out your own identity. I mean, there's big pieces that I do on identity as well when I'm coaching people, and it's something that you have to think about when you start succeeding as a trader, investor, all-round, sustainable, disciplined market participant. Okay, so hope you had a good few tasters in there and things to think about and helped you on your journey. And the next one is number 10, our last in the series. So I will see you module number 10. Stay lucky.